up, Facebook? This is John Steele coming to you live from sunny San Diego. Today, in this episode of Get Real with Real Estate, I'm going to be talking about marketing. So, in today's day and age, with all of the listings being online with, Trulia, Zillow, Redfin, different agents' websites, everything is online these days. So, when you're selling a home, marketing is more important than it's ever been. And it's changed a lot in the recent years with kind of all that technology that I just mentioned. It's a lot different than, 20, 30 years ago before the internet was around and you didn't have things like virtual tours and photos and all that stuff. You kind of had to wander around and find the properties or rely on the agent to know where they were. So today I'm going to talk a little bit about effective marketing for a listing. So one of the things that really frustrates me a lot as a real estate agent is when I see listings that don't have professional photos. And the reason it frustrates me is because I know that whoever that seller is that hired that agent to list their property, and they trusted that agent to help get the most for their home. That agent, by not doing professional photos, is doing their client a massive disservice, like an enormous disservice. Professional photos, they only cost, a couple $100, and they make a dramatic difference in how much you're going to get for your home. And really just the amount of people that you're even going to get interested in your home and through the door. Nowadays, pretty much, we work with buyers all the time. Pretty much every buyer that we're working with, they're looking at homes online, I would say pretty much daily. Some of these people, like their Redfin app or whatever is like, all they're doing all day is just looking at homes online. So in order to have like a successful listing and a successful sale of your property, I would say priority number one is going to be make sure that whatever agent that you're hiring does professional photos. And that means, having a professional real estate photographer come out, take photos. It makes your property look freaking amazing. Like we've had clients where, we've had the photographer come out, take photos of their home, and then when they get the photos back and see how beautiful their home looks, they're like, oh, like, I don't even know if I want to sell anymore because their home looks so good that they fall in love with it again. But yeah, every time I'm looking through a listing, I see it all the time. Homes in San Diego are pricey compared to the rest of the country. It's not uncommon to have homes, in the $1 million market. And I'll see it all the time. A home will be listed for $1 million, and then it's got like 6 photos taken with a phone. The guy's fingers in half of them. Some of them are upside down. People upload thumbnails. It's just, it blows my mind, and it's one of the things that really frustrates me to see that, because I know for a fact that seller who hired that agent is losing thousands of dollars in the sale of their property simply because their agent was too lazy and too cheap to hire a professional photographer. So step number one for a successful sale is get professional photos. Obviously there are a few exceptions to that. If you're selling an investor deal that's, maybe the place is a complete dump, practically falling down, you don't necessarily need professional photos for that. But if you're dealing with any property that's even remotely like move-in ready or whatever, like even remotely going to be interesting to your average buyer, I would highly, highly encourage you to hire an agent who uses professional photos. The next kind of big important factor into effectively marketing your home is going to be price point. So we touched on price point a little bit on one of the previous Get Real with Real Estate episodes, but as far as marketing is concerned, price point's a huge thing. You want to make sure that you're pricing your home correct. If you price your home too high, you're not going to get the interest that you want right off the bat, and your home's going to sit. And when your home sits, after a few weeks or months, you start to get the bargain shoppers. You get the people coming in trying to lowball you. You get investors trying to come in super low, all that stuff. And really, it's just a waste of everybody's time. You're going to have, buyers coming to check out your property, but if it's, overpriced, maybe your home's not going to be worth the value that the other homes they're seeing. So you're most likely going to have a lot of showings. You're going to have to be spending all your time making your home look really nice, cleaning up and all that stuff, only to have buyers come through and not make offers. So it's going to be a waste of your time. It's going to be a waste of the buyer's time. It's just a waste of people's time all around. Honestly, in San Diego's market, with how quickly it's moving and how aggressive it is right now, one of the strategies that Melissa and I are using that's had a lot of success is actually underpricing the home a little bit. So coming in, maybe if the home is worth $500,000, pricing it just slightly under that. Maybe start it at like $590,000, $585,000. The thing is, buyers, they buy on emotion. So what you want them to do is get through that door, fall in love with the property, and then naturally they're going to start bidding it up. If you can get a couple buyers interested in the home within the first few days, first week, then you can have them competing against each other, driving the cost up, rather than the seller competing directly against the buyer. And that's the best case scenario as a seller, is you don't want to be negotiating with just one buyer. You want a couple buyers to be basically, chomping at the bit to get your home and driving their, having each buyer drive each other up. So that's an ideal scenario. And then I would say, lastly, not every home is the same. Honestly, there is no two properties that are the same. It's extremely rare that you're going to find two properties that have the same features and the same location and all that stuff, same finishes. So lastly, I would say if you're a seller and you want to hire a real estate agent to sell your home, find an agent who's going to have a good marketing plan specific for your property. So like I said, not every property should get marketed the same. For instance, I kind of gave the example earlier where if the home is a heavy fixer property, that's going to be a different type of marketing plan than, say, a $2 million home that's on the beach that's absolutely fabulous. So when looking for an agent to list your property, ask the agent, their thoughts on how they would market your property. If they just go down their typical list, I put it on the MLS and I hold an open house and I wait for offers, kind of evaluate that yourself if you think that that's enough to get your home sold. There's a lot of agents out there who, once they have the listing agreement in place, they throw the sign in the yard and then they just wait and they'll just sit there, not really working for you, kind of just relying on the market to bring a good buyer. Just to give you a few examples of some different marketing plans that we had on some previous listings of ours. For instance, we had one client who they had two young kids and 2 dogs. So showings for them were going to be a little bit difficult. Anybody who has kids probably understands this. It's kind of crazy to manage that and then throw 2 dogs in on top of that. Having to constantly have the house clean and being ready to leave the property at a moment's notice for showings, that was going to be tough on this particular client. So for this particular listing, our strategy was to only show the home during the open houses. So when the property first hit the market, we had 4 open houses that weekend. It was a Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. We told everyone that wanted to see the home that the only time you could see it was during the open houses. Priced it just slightly under what we thought it was worth. We priced it, I believe it was like a low $400,000 home. We priced it from $390,000 to $410,000. This strategy basically, it created a little bit of a sense of urgency. If you're not going to go see it during those times, you're just not going to see it, and too bad for you. And because of that, we ended up having, over the course of those 4 days, I believe it was like 60 or 70 groups come through, and by the end of the weekend we had 4 offers and we accepted an offer $5,000 over asking range, and it was done like that. Like our client, 4 showings, over and done. Super convenient for them. They didn't have to worry about the hassle of showing and all that stuff, and it ended up working out perfect. We have another listing that's coming very soon that we've had a really aggressive marketing plan for. It was actually really convenient based on our clients' needs. They didn't need to sell immediately, so we've actually had a little bit of time to market this property. So because we were able to get the professional photos done early, we've had a good like 2 to 3, I would say 2-ish weeks to use those professional photos on Facebook ads, on direct mailers, on stuff like that. We also did a 360 virtual walkthrough, Facebook Live videos. We've had ads running now for the past 2 weeks, and we're getting about 5 to 15 people opting in per day on our Facebook ads that are interested in viewing that home. So basically, once that property hits next week, we're going to have, we already have over 100 plus people that we're going to be able to say like, hey, that listing you were interested in, a week or two ago, it's now live. Come check it out at the open house. And similar to that last one I just gave you an example of, this is also going to be a home that you can only view during the open houses. So it creates that sense of urgency. The serious buyers who are actually going to, probably be making offers, they're going to make sure that they get their butt there to see that property. And then also when they show up and they see, that there's 5+ other groups there checking it out, that's going to also create a little bit of a sense of urgency. They're going to look around and be like, holy cow, there are so many people checking out this home. If we want it, we're going to have to act quick. And because of that, we fully expect that home's going to go extremely quick, and we're kind of excited to see how this whole marketing plan specifically for this one works out. So that's kind of I know I threw a lot at you really quick, but that's kind of a little bit of a gist of what we look at for marketing. And basically, if you're a seller who's looking to sell your home, some of the things that you should keep in mind as you're interviewing agents. Price point, really important. Don't, if an agent just says like, maybe you're a little bit unrealistic about price and you throw out a number. If that agent's just like, okay, yeah, we can list it at that, I would maybe take that with a grain of salt. There's a lot of agents who will just agree with you whatever you want, but as many of the agents in the industry know, just taking a listing at an unrealistic price point, it's just not going to sell. It's going to sit. So if you're serious about selling, take your agent's feedback on the price. That's going to be a really important thing as you launch your property. 2, professional photos are huge. I cannot stress this enough. Like I said, it honestly, it pisses me off seeing people who list all these homes and don't use professional photos. All they're doing is just losing their client money. And then 3, coming up with making sure your client or your agent has a marketing plan that's going to work for your property. So whether it's a fixer property, whether it's a property that's gorgeous on the beach, multi-million-dollar, all of these different homes should have different strategies. So make sure that the agent that you're hiring, has a good strategy that's going to work for your home, that's going to get your home sold for the most amount that you can. So that's it for this episode. I think it's episode 4 of Get Real with Real Estate. I see Jason joined. What's up, Jason? If you guys have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments, and yeah, just keep an eye out for more of these coming soon. Hope you have an awesome day, and talk to you soon. Later.